You know, all things, all people, places, things, processes, everything has a signature, right? And I'm gonna apply this to the coronavirus. I was looking. I just saw some numbers. I think the United States currently is with the third most cases in the world, right? So they're feeding us data, but the numbers, they're only feeding us the numbers. They're not really feeding us, anything other than that, that'll allow us to do some critical thinking to break down what it is that we're dealing with, right? They're shadowing that from us. This is a country and a world that's enshrouded in secrecy. And I don't know why it's a secrecy. You got the Illuminati and this, these secret governments. Like everybody's trying to keep a secret. So much so that when they show us a picture of Mars, it's often an illustration, an artist's depiction. Why? Why can't you just show us the actual picture? But like I said, everything has a signature. So what technology so I'm looking at technology because technology is a carbon copy of the subsystem, which is a copy of the dimension, the original system, the system that the creators put together. You know what I'm saying? And so when I think about the so-called coronavirus, a couple things. First is, why the hysteria now? Like, there was no conversation last year when over 16,000 people died of the flu virus. That's a virus too, right? And over 280,000 were hospitalized. Corona still pales those numbers in the United States. So why are you talking about it now and you wasn't talking about the flu from last year? That was worth a conversation. Nobody talked about it. It wasn't sensationalized. And, a lot of times, man, when the powers, of the subsystem, a lot of times they will, alarm the people when it's something that they can't control or something that they can't hide, something that they don't understand. Fear forces them to project what's really going on, So when I think of a virus, what technology teaches us is that a virus is something that's foreign to a system, right? And once it gets into the system, it causes problems. It begins to break down the system, right? Just like the virus in your computer, right? But you also have worms, which is another type of malware. Malware. Can't even talk. Malware. Sound like I'm from St. Louis or something. Malware, right? With viruses and worms are two different things. So you think of virus, you just think of something that's all encompassing. A virus is something that you would need to do once it gets into your computer. It's something that you need to do in order for it to propagate, right? In order for it to propagate through the system, it was due to something you did. With worms, they can propagate on their own. Worms they can go from computer to computer and file to file, and you didn't have anything, you didn't do anything. It has the intelligence to do its own thing. So really, this isn't a coronavirus, it's a corona worm, because it's propagating through the people, through the biocomputers, which are people. Just like through computers synthetically, how worms propagate. You see what I'm saying? And usually, like I said, all people, places, and things, there's some type of signature. Like nobody wants to claim responsibility for this, whether it was in the lab or not. We don't know. But we do know, if we look at the coronavirus, it has a signature, right? Because a creator or the originator of something. Another thing too, I wanted to say, um, is that viruses and worms and all other types of malware are man-made. They're man-made by hackers who create these viruses and worms and different pieces of technology to disrupt the system, right? And so with the coronavirus, I'm trying to find out, based off of the signature, who created this? Where did it come from? Did it come from the lab? You know what I'm saying? Did it come from China? You know, from that area in China where, you know, they have all these exotic meats and animals and all this other type of thing? Did it come from animals? Because they tried to say it came from the bat. They tried to say it come from animals. Or did it come from the system? So when you break that down, did it come from the subsystem or did it come from the system? And when I look at the signature, because I'm a designer, right? You know, and a designer understands a designer. When you look at it, it looks like the sun, and they're calling it Corona, right? So, you know, as I continue to do my critical thinking, I have to ask myself, is this something that was pushed down to the planet? Or is this something that was created here? And that's something you got to think about, man. You know, when you do critical thinking, you got to do a deep dive into the information and do a deep dive, because they're not going to do it for you. Because like they said, they don't have a cure for it at the moment, right? Just like SARS, we were all over SARS. We were all over the mad cow disease. You know, we were all over the bird flu. We were all over these things. We were able to handle that. But the coronavirus, the virus of the sun that looks like a sun, it's doing its thing on the people. It's a vial. It's coming across as a vial to me. And another thing that they said that nobody's talking about, and Idris Elba, whatever his name is, tried to squash it. A couple white guys, because, you know, they are all over the data. You know what I'm saying? You just sit between them. It's like a ping pong match. You know, the white guys be all over it. You know, and I can appreciate that. One of the white guys said that, and he said he doesn't believe it, but they said that the coronavirus is more reactive to A+ blood types versus the O+ and the O blood types, right? So people would translate that into saying that it is affecting white folk more than it's affecting black folk in America. You know what I'm saying? Because trust me, if it was affecting black folk more than it was affecting white folks, they would definitely give you those numbers. You know how they like to say, oh, diabetes affects more black men in America than white men, or cancer, breast cancer affects more black women and women of African American descent than white folk. They love to kick the numbers, the data. They love to kick the numbers when it works in their favor. But they ain't saying nothing about this. You see? You know, when it was crack kills, talking about crack and all of this, when it was killing the black community, they let it be known who this scourge is affecting. But when the opioids, now it's affecting all people, it's affecting Americans. Now there's a problem. So you have to keep that in mind, and you have to, keep that in mind. It doesn't mean that black people can't get the coronavirus because you got an O blood type, but some black people have A negative and A. They got the same Neanderthal blood type as the Caucasian. And this don't mean all Caucasians is going to get it either. You know what I mean? It was just something interesting that popped up. And so back to what I was saying, what's the signature? of this thing, of this process that's affecting so many people in so many different places. Is it a vial, or is it coming from the subsystem? Is it man-made? Because a lot of times when it's man-made, they'll control the narrative on it. They control the narrative on it, and they unleash and leak out bits of information about it to those who are listening, to those who are plugged into the proper channels, right? But with the coronavirus, they putting it on out there, right? They're giving you what the situation was really going on, and that just leads me to believe that they can't control it. They can't control the narrative. There's not a cure for it. There's fear now, because when people get feared, when they say America's afraid, they mean white folks are afraid. The Caucasian is afraid, and now they want to talk about it. Now they want to control the narrative on it, but they didn't last year with the flu. So I think based off of the signature of this thing, it's more of a worm. Just looking at it from a technological perspective, right? This virus / worm that's propagating throughout the world, And that was just something I was thinking about, man. You got to do a deep dive and become more of a critical thinker, because as the push moves forward on the next evolution of man, and I did a live on this, go check the archives on that, about the next evolution. I think I'm gonna upload that later on tonight. Man will have to make a decision on what are you gonna be? Are you gonna be a critical thinker? Are you gonna be more like Spock, less emotion, more logic as you move through the matrix, as you move through the bits and bytes of this world? You're gonna have to be more logical, or are you gonna be and I call that man infused with machine? Mandroid, android. Are you going to be that? Because that's one push for the next evolution of mankind, humankind. Or are you going to be gender infused? Man mixed with woman, female mixed with male genders, which creates a lot of chaos and confusion because you're dealing with emotion. And how I feel, and I'm not feeling that, and I'm feeling you. That people are moving around the system based off of feelings, and when you're making decisions based off of feelings, you're easily controlled because you're not thinking. You're going off of impulses of how you feel, or is it going to be a neutrinoid, so-called a neutrinoid? And a neutrinoid, Dr. York pushed that. And I'm gonna borrow the term, and speak the language. A neutrinoid is a infusion of the races, black and white. You see a lot of programming, through the television and through movies of the so-called black woman mixing her seed, with the white man, with the Caucasian. In order to, for the survival, of the race, of the white race, of the Caucasian. You know what I'm saying? It's just a theory. You know what I'm saying? But you see the projection, and why is that? Why is that? All of a sudden, you're seeing that. So those are the three pushes. And I like I said, I did a live on it. I'm gonna upload it. Those are the three pushes, major pushes, for the next evolution of mankind and humankind, because the way it looks, man is going to have to evolve into something else as the system changes. The subsystem must change, and then because the subsystem changes, it's changing the biocomputers, the humanoids have to change as well, to all be in line and to all be in link, man. So, has the system spoken with the coronavirus? I take this information, I got it under the microscope in the lab, and I'm gonna continue to break it down and to break down the different signatures and see how it moves. Throw it in the petri dish and see how it moves, and see how people move and see how the money move, through the subsystem, because the money moving different now. The resources are moving different now. The plug is different. So that's it. I'm gonna get off this horn, man.